Okay, delighted to say I've got the chairman of previously the Brexit Party and now, as of yesterday, officially, I believe, Reform UK, Richard Tice. Richard, how are you?
I'm actually delighted. It's now a happy new year, Michael. Until then, it was just a new year because things seemed a bit challenging. But we're thrilled to have got that confirmation. We didn't know which way the Electoral Commission were going to go, but it seems right. Brexit's done. It's been hard work, but actually that's now done. There's still some issues around it that we want to work on fishing on Northern Ireland. But now's the right time to look forward, and there is so much that genuinely needs reforming about the way the country is run, governed, and managed.
Yeah, no, I just want to ask you about elections due to take place in May. Anyway, first of all, do you think those elections are going to go ahead? We're sort of hearing a few murmurs, a few rumours that perhaps they could be delayed again. Obviously, there were a lot of elections delayed from last year. Do you think they'll be delayed again from this May?
They should, in my view, they absolutely must go ahead in May. It would be inexcusable. We've had our liberties taken away, Michael. Free speech is under threat. If you then take away the ballot box, you take away our democracy. That then becomes the definition of an autocratic dictatorship. And in a sense, because the Labour Party are basically just aping everything that the Prime Minister does on COVID, we're into a one-party state. And where there's a will, there's a way. You're a can-do sort of bloke. I'm the same. We could organise this. It's May, for heaven's sake. It's not the winter. You could put the polling booths outside. It'd be nice and warm. You could have it over 2 days. We could have a socially distanced and elongated election for a couple of days. If people are worried about not getting enough people through the polling booths in one day, we can sort all this stuff. We are a creative, imaginative nation. And I think it's the height of feebleness that is totally anti-democratic to deny us the right to express our views at the ballot box. And maybe whether it's the government basically terrified of what voters might say, or whether they've just got into this sort of dictatorial, what we say goes, and democracy's out the window. I don't know, but it's an awful thought. But I'm hearing the same rumours as you are, and I think it's probably more than a 50-50 that the whole shooting match are going to be delayed. And actually, I think it was just yesterday, the Prime Minister in the House of Commons, he wouldn't give a cast iron commitment to holding them in May. He won't give a commitment on anything. It's just awful.
Now, assuming those elections do go ahead in May, Richard, could you just give people some idea of the scale, the ambition of the number of candidates Reform UK hopes to stand, where you hope to stand? Obviously, we've got everything from police and crime commissioner elections to Welsh Parliament, Scottish Parliament, council elections. So what's your ambition in terms of these set of elections and what Reform UK will stand?
Big. Our ambition, Michael, is big. And we want to stand in as many of those elections, as you said, from the London Assembly elections to the Scottish and Welsh Assembly elections to local councils. There are Metro Mayor elections, and then there's the police and crime commissioners. There's a huge raft. I think there's some 5,000 local council seats up for grabs. We've already had well over 1,000 people submit formal applications, going through vetting. So, and even just this morning, I can exclusively reveal to you, since last night when we emailed, all our supporters about the good news, we've had 100 additional applications came through in the first 2.5 hours of this morning alone. So, we've got, lots of interest. I think people genuinely want to get involved. And I think it's, the opportunity to put forward a bold reforming agenda. I think people want to hear it. And I think the country, actually, it's good for the country to have another voice with a really bold, radical reforming agenda.
Now, you yourself there've been rumours that you could be standing for the London mayoralty. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I hopefully we can all agree that Sadiq Khan is the worst mayor that London's ever had, and I'm very focused on what's the best way to try and remove Sadiq, and it's not easy, but if London is if London's still in lockdown and basically is closed and shut for business, it would just be absolutely awful. So yeah, a number of people are urging me to run. I'm looking at it, but whatever decision I come to on that, I'm 99% certain that I'll definitely be running in the London Assembly. We think we've got a cracking chance of securing some good representation in that. And for small parties, and obviously we're a small party, the proportional representation system, the likes of which we'll have in London and Scotland and Wales, as we had in the Europeans, that is much fairer to small parties, and therefore I believe it's actually fairer to democracy because voters get more choice. So yeah, we've got really good opportunities in those, but also we're very strong on law and order. The police and crime commissioners, I think there's 40 of those that are up for grabs, and we've got some candidates really keen to take part in those, and we have a very clear, strong law and order agenda.
Yeah, can I just ask you about a few of the issues that have been mentioned by Reform UK in your announcement yesterday? If we could just sort of whistle through and give us sort of a brief overview at this time.
Sure.
First of all, you mentioned the economy.
Very simple. We must grow our way out of this crisis, and economically, the country has got some major challenges. The private sector is being decimated. We can't tax our way out of it. We've got to grow our way out of it fast, and the way to do that, very clearly, is we need to cut taxes. That'll create faster growth. We've got to cut the amount of daft regulation, much of it from the EU. That'll generate faster growth. And we need to cut the mountain of wasteful government spending. Again, that will generate faster growth. And if you generate faster growth, then there are two simple things that happen that I think are most important to all of our lives. Firstly, if you get faster growth, you'll get better wages. Businesses are growing better, there'll be more demand for labour, wages will increase. That's a fantastic thing. We should all, go for that. And then we'll have more money to invest in our health and our health system. And again, we all, if we have better health, you'll live longer lives and fundamentally, but you need money to do that. You can't do that if the economy is going down the pan. The expression I use is, a healthy economy leads to healthy people and longer lives. A sick economy leads to sick people living shorter lives. So, the economic agenda is absolutely clear. We will be, I suspect we'll be the only party offering a low tax, smart, low regulation agenda where, we create huge incentives for the self-employed, small business owners, entrepreneurs, the doers, the creators, what I call the workers and the strivers. We don't want to be propping up, frankly, the shirkers and the skivers, because it's the entrepreneurs and the private sector that will drive the recovery, drive growth. The public sector doesn't drive growth. And of course, I am worried about this divide that is building up between the public sector, where almost nobody has lost their job in this crisis, and the private sector, where all the pain, all the risk, all the grief is being felt, and and the self-employed who've been completely abandoned, by the Chancellor and the Conservatives, the 2 to 3 million people who've just fallen below the gap. So yeah, economically, we're going to have a bold, reforming, radical agenda.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention specifically as well the mention of the House of Lords and the BBC, two issues that on this channel viewers really care about, really want to see some big radical change on those two. What can we expect from Reform UK on that?
Well, absolutely. We've ever since we launched last year, we've said that the House of Lords needs radical reform. The idea, and in a sense, I think actually we've had peak House of Lords. The moment the Prime Minister appointed his own brother, who basically had failed 2 or 3 times as a minister, to the House of Lords. I think people, that was the greatest sign of nepotism potentially we've ever seen. Just appointing yet more and more donors to the Conservative Party, the House of Lords. The whole thing, it's an abhorrence, it's an abomination, it's cronyism at its worst, and it needs to go. And we need to have a proper grown-up national debate about what to replace it with. And there's a variety of different models. So that's really important. and it's, it's this. I think it's the second biggest legislative chamber in the world after the Chinese Communist Party. So it's 850 of the characters. A small Senate elected, possibly with a fixed term. Is one interesting way of doing it, and of course it probably is right to have a second chamber that checks the wisdom of what comes from the House of Commons. And as I say, there's a variety of ways of cutting it, but what's there at the moment is awful. And then the BBC, well, we do live in the 21st century, and you talk about government waste. I think the BBC, the fact that they conclude they need to pay Gary Lineker to talk on Match of the Day and pay him, give or take £1.5 million. I mean, look, I'm not saying Gary's not good, he is, but there's lots of other fantastically talented commentators, ex-footballers, former managers, who are all brilliant and could run that show and need to be paid a tenth of that. And then, of course, the BBC's £100 million diversity agenda. This is our cash. There's no such thing as government money. It's your money. It's your viewers' money. And it's a little bit of my money. It's all of our money that gets blown on this stuff. The woke diversity agenda. The truth is, the BBC, it can make some great programs, but it should be optional to subscribe to it in the same way that whether you subscribe to Amazon Prime or to Netflix. That's the modern world. And you could have a shopping list, a menu of options. They need to feel the cold, hard reality of life in the commercial lane, and then a lot of that waste would disappear.
And finally, Richard, can I just ask you, can you give a message to those watching this interview, a final message in terms of what people should be looking for in Reform UK if they're thinking about potentially voting or even standing for you? What is your message to them?
If you like what we stand for reforming the way this country is run and managed, please join us. If you can, please do stand for us in elections in your area. And we are going to be standing up for, frankly, we're the home of common sense. Getting things done, making things happen, cutting out the nonsense, cutting out the waffle. We are a party of reform, a party of action. And I'm really excited. So hopefully listeners will join up and play a part in that reform.
Richard Tice, thanks so much for your time. I'm sure we'll speak again soon.
Great.
Cheers, Richard.
Thanks, Michael.